My wife went on a 2 week trip recently, and the cat that we have, whose name is Luke, um, always sleeps either very close to her, or when he sleeps during the day, it's where she has slept in the bed. So the next morning, he got up and he went to the door that goes to outside. He had seen her go out with her bag, and he called her back over and over for at least 30 minutes. He sat there and said, "Please come back. Don't go away. Don't go. Don't go." And after about 30 minutes, he gave up and he went and got on the bed, and he spent all day there. Um, it was pretty obvious what he was doing. Um, and he didn't do it again. That was, it was a one time thing. Well, this cat came to us from a sequence of owners. One of the people that had him for a couple of years died suddenly. Um, his daughter took the cat. Her life was in flux, and um, she couldn't keep it. She gave the cat to us. Well, the cat had showed up in in a desperate kind of situation, I guess, because the fellow who died opened his door one day, and the cat just rushed in and insisted upon staying. So he kept the cat, fed the cat, and so on, but it was a very independent cat. It would go out on the balcony. He lived in an apartment complex. He would jump into the tree, and he would be gone all day, and he'd come back when he was hungry. Um, all right, so the cat that we inherited was a little wild, a little independent, and if he met another cat, he would attack. If you tried to pet him, he would bite. Um, so for the first year, he stayed in his own chair, and he almost never came close, and you couldn't pet him. But over a year, like all of a sudden, something changed. Um, he went from being that standoffish cat, very independent, and if he never met a wall he couldn't jump over, he suddenly settled down and he started to spend long naps sleeping between us on the couch during the day. And you started to be able to pet him, and he started to purr. and and now that cat has become very humanized, I guess you could say. Um, so I am reminded of a story that I read recently about two cats who were brothers who had grown up together and always slept together and so on, and played with each other's toys, and just very happy brothers who had grown up well taken care of. And one of them died all of a sudden. Um, He had a kidney problem, and the owners put him in a cat carrier and took him to the vet and came back with an empty carrier. Well, the cat that was left knew, he damn well knew his brother was not coming back. And he went through a period of grief. Um, he didn't eat. Um, they swear that he cried. Um, he he gradually got himself over it, but he just went through it. He entered into the state of grief, and then he came out of it when the time was right. Um, Now, another story about grief was when, um, on the human level, in our own lives, we had lived in a beautiful part of France for 20 years, and I had painted and read and worked in the garden and really enjoyed living in this little village of 150 people in this old house, stone house built in the 17 and 1800s that we did a lot of work on over 20 years. We really had put our roots down, and um, all of a sudden it collapsed. So we um, did what we had to do. We sold the house. We left there. We went back to the States. I realize now, and this happened, say, 10 years ago, that we entered a period of grief. Um, and it took, it is probably not over, but one of the reasons it lasted so long is we resisted it, or at least I did. I I actually tried to talk myself out of it and said, it's just the way it works. Um, so I was reading recently something by Michael Meade talking about how it's natural that things come together and they create something beautiful, and they reach this kind of apotheosis and then they collapse. Then it's just the natural rhythm of things. Um, and now I have to admit that I blame myself for everything falling apart, and because it was such a beautiful thing and I wanted to hold on to it. But when it did collapse, I didn't think of it as a natural thing. I thought of it as something I did wrong. Um, Michael Mead's take on it is kind of comforting to me, frankly, um, because it gives you the thought that it's never going to be this creative thing that it goes on forever, that is just one beauty after another. No, we actually must have lessons we need to learn that are essential for some deep part of us, that something in us needs to keep growing. And if we insist upon staying at a certain plateau and a certain paradigm, we're going to stagnate. Well, I can say with a great deal of pride that I'm not stagnated. Um, something else started happening, and it was completely unpredicted. I um, I started waking up in the middle of the night with all these sentences going through my head, and it was one variation after another. And the only way I could stop that from happening so that I could actually sleep all night was I had to get up, turn on the light, get my notebook, and write them down. Once I got one version down, it was over and I could go back to sleep. That's how my writing careers started off. I um, I started writing a story, and then I published it, and then I started writing exposition ideas, and I started publishing that. It's easy to do nowadays. I mean, you don't have to be uh, go through a gatekeeper at some big publishing company. You can just get online, and that's what I did. So now I have 6 books, and I'm a writer. How did that happen? Um, but evidently, that's in the nature of things. That um, something there's some seed in you. There's something that wants to grow, and you can stop it. You can keep it from happening and try to talk yourself out of it. But then it won't ever take root and it won't blossom. Well, anyway, I think it helps me to think of it that way. And I, um, I just wanted to talk about that today. So do what you will with it.